Giving all praises, all honor to Yahweh and the son Yahweh Shai. This is the Shema with your bro Shi'yah, and this is my brother Gabar. All praises, all honor, all glory. We want to always give honor and glory to those that's keeping the commandments, that are doing the best that they can, and we want to always exhort our brothers and sisters. Man, on the conversation that me and you was just having,
yes, sir.
Speak on that.
Man, it's insane that some people feel like, we're not supposed to defend ourselves when it's many mighty warriors that we come from.
That's right.
And that scripture you pulled where he says, take your garment and trade it in. I'm roughly paraphrasing it, but take your garment and trade it in for a sword. To me, that says so much.
It does.
And no one is saying, like you said in our conversation, if you're fearful, if you're afraid, then you shouldn't even have a weapon with you.
Exactly, at all.
You're going to mess around, hurt somebody, mess around, get somebody hurt. You're going to mess around and get yourself hurt.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you shouldn't have a weapon, don't.
Right.
I know you my guy. So I know you personally, and I know that you're not a person who's like, yeah, we all need to have this and we all need to be that's not what's going on. And so the focus of this past lesson that you did on Sabbath was just explaining like there was a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
And so, hey, if I got a baseball bat and I just got it, it don't mean that that I'm going to use it. You know what I mean? I may have it for protection. I might be in a hostile environment.
Right.
But some people, you got to work out what the scripture say. You got to work out your own
salvation with fear and
trembling. So
absolutely.
I don't judge nobody, but I feel like you shouldn't judge on the strength that I'm willing to defend and protect myself.
If I have a weapon and you don't, you shouldn't judge me on the strength of that. And it's crazy because I've been in this situation before. Mm-hmm. I've had other people that were fellow brews say the same thing before, and they just couldn't handle it. But like I told you, my father used to be a PI. Used to be a bounty hunter, mm-hmm. and he had to get his PI license.
Yes.
And he always would say, "I hope I don't have to kill this nigga." Mm-hmm. And he never, to my knowledge, my father's never had to pull his weapon out, but he had it, but because of the element that he was in.
Yes.
And it's
like
crazy.
I said, hostile environment,
exactly,
so to speak. Yeah,
it's just crazy that people just don't understand that. That's very unfortunate.
I myself have dealt with it. I studied all the traditional not all of them, but different traditional martial arts for years. And so I love, just weapons. I got nunchucks, I got swords, I got all kinds of stuff. So
gotta ask somebody about
So I had one guy tell me like, man, you getting into all this stuff and you supposed to have your faith in the Most High. And I'm not a guy who runs around trying to start nothing with nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I didn't get into it to fight. I got into it because it's just something I grew up watching with my dad, and it's something I wanted to, get into. And I don't understand. Like I said, if you're not into it, then you're not into it.
You're not into it. Everybody is different. Nobody talks about that golden sword that Maccabees had that he fought with.
Come on now.
Nobody talks about how hard it says when he yelled, he was like a lion. That he yelled like a lion, and his yell or his voice, they were afraid of it when they heard Maccabees yell because he fought so well. He was what they call a valiant warrior.
Yes,
like a man of valor. That's the highest prestigious medal that you can get in the military, right? Yes, and the medal of valor means that you. And I'm paraphrasing. It just means you're a bad MF.
Yeah, that's it. No, that's exactly what it means.
You can fight.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of men of valor in the scriptures. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And this leads me to the class. Today, the class is called A Conscience Towards Sin. A conscience towards sin. Sometimes people don't have a conscience. Once you develop a conscience, and we don't, and listen, we're not attacking anybody, just one person or anything like. We're trying to. Now we are speaking in generalities today to get a point across. Okay. Once you develop a conscience, certain things that you did fall or did cause you to fall won't cause you to fall again. I'm gonna give you an example. If my brother was a whoremonger and he developed a conscience towards sin, I don't care how many big booty Judies came up. I don't care what a woman could say to entice you. He wouldn't do it because his conscience has developed towards the sin. I don't care if I was the number one whoremonger, pimp, whatever. If I truly repented and my conscience developed towards whatever sin I was in, I wouldn't do it. So what happens is we have to remember to fight against our nature. We have to remember to fight against that which we want to do, because once we develop a conscience, we don't want that no more. I don't care. Your body don't want it, but just because your body wants something, like if I was a brother that was a hard brawler, I could fight. I want to always prove myself. I want to always be, prove to everybody I could whoop their butt. Okay. If I had developed a conscience toward that sin, because that is sinful behavior. The Bible tells you in Proverbs chapter 22 to make no friendship with an angry man, right? And it says you're going to take on his ways, right? So 22 and 24 and 25, it tells you that, and we'll get that scripture, but it tells you not to do that, right? So if I develop a conscience or a repentance for that, I won't do it no more.
That's right.
So watch this. I want you to go to Romans chapter 13 and verse 1. We're going to start this out by reading Romans 13 and 1, because we're going to get a full scope of what's having that conscience towards your sin. We're going to get a full scope of it. We talked about some of it this past Sabbath, but I think we just still need to be on it to get an understanding. Go ahead when you get there.
The book of Romans chapter 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher power.
Let every soul be subject to what?
Unto the higher power.
To himself.
Unto the higher power.
No matter what, we got to be subject. If we're in an organization or if we're doing something, we're going to be subject. I'm going to be subject to a higher power. When I first started this truth, I was subject to a higher power, which were the people that was over me teaching me, whether I liked it or not. Read on.
For there is no power but of God.
So a lot of times people get that separated. They say, well, there's no power of God. I follow Christ. If you follow in Christ, you will follow the things that you're being taught. That's what following Christ means. So everybody can't say, oh, I individually follow Christ. We got to adhere to what the words in the Bible say if we're following Christ. But watch this, read.
There is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God.
The powers that be are what?
Ordained of God.
If you're in an organization and you believe in what's being taught, those powers that are over you are the powers that are ordained of God. So those people are spiritually over you as guides or as elders, right? So just because you don't like, and this is another thing, just because you don't like everything that an elder says doesn't make it a blow up situation.
No, it shouldn't. It absolutely should not. It absolutely should not.
Because he's not gonna, that person, because remember, we're supposed to be kind to the froward and to the kind alike, right? So somebody that's over you, like the guy that was over me in the beginning, he was lying. He was a very rambunctious individual. Okay. But I would be lying if I sit here and told you that I didn't learn a lot from him. I learned a lot from that man. Even to this day, he's doing what he's doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. But I learned a lot from being around them and being taught by him. Okay. Once I learned what I learned, it did turn out to where we did grow apart. But I was humble enough to receive instruction from him. And he was a rambunctious individual, right? So everybody you don't get the pick of the litter every time, right? But read on.
Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
You put yourself in a danger when you resist what the powers of the hierarchy are, right? But watch this, keep reading.
Verse 3. For rulers are not a terror to good works.
Wait, rulers are not a what?
For rulers are not a terror to good works.
I didn't get into a lot of stuff with that guy because I was trying to do good work. So I stayed really off his radar because I was just trying to do and learn like I was supposed to. But I noticed him in his interaction with other people, but he wasn't a terror to me because I didn't give him a reason to say nothing to me. Read on.
But to the evil.
But to the what?
But to the evil.
Read on.
Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power?
When it says wilt thou then not be afraid of the power, it's talking about the power that the Most High set up. Would you not be afraid of the power or the powers that be or the powers that are in authority?
There you go. That's what I was going to say. The authority, the authorities. There you go.
And a lot of times people, and it's important because a lot of young people today are not afraid of the powers of authority. They have no respect for powers of authority. Young people just don't have it. It's just not there. They can't find it. Read on.
Do that which is good.
Wait a minute. Do that which is what?
Do that which is good.
Sometimes that good requires being humble, right? That's something that's good. But read on.
And thou shalt have praise of the same.
So you're going to get your praise if you do that which is righteous and good. You are going to get a praise, right? Go ahead.
Verse 4. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil,
if you trying to go against the grain and you want to do your own thing, if you're doing that which is evil, read.
be afraid.
Be what?
Be afraid.
So when you want to make excuses of why you don't like what this elder says, a lot of times you need to be afraid. A lot of times I knew that a situation was not cool. I didn't like it, but I still did not rock the boat because I wasn't knowledgeable up on everything. And I was wise enough to know that I wasn't knowledgeable up on everything, right? Read on.
For he beareth not the sword in vain.
So he beareth not the sword in vain. So sometimes when you see another person swinging that sword, you may not understand it, but it's not in vain. Go ahead.
If you pay attention, look at what he says. He says, for he's a minister of God to thee for good, right? But just pay attention. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid.
Yes.
Why should we be afraid? For he beareth not the sword in vain. Guess what? He didn't say he used the sword. He just bearing it.
Oh,
he just got it.
Say that.
He not swinging it. He not swinging it. He not stabbing it. Listen, he ain't shining it. He ain't sharpening it. He just got it.
He just had
in case it needs to be, right? That's what beareth mean. It means he has. It doesn't mean he's using.
Exactly.
Right?
If you bear a sword, you have it. You're not using it.
Not using it.
Right.
And then he says, not he bear not the sword in vain, meaning I have it for a purpose.
Right.
That's all. That's it, and that's all. It's not for anything other than, look, I have it in case.
Yes.
We all, guess what? We will all go out and get insurance on our car in case. You paying money in case. Wait a minute. So I may not have an accident in 3, 4, 7, 9, 12 years, but I'm going to pay you money every month
just in case.
Just in case. That's the same thing.
That's a hard
That's
lick.
the same thing.
Bro, that's a hard lick right there.
I mean, you know.
And sometimes we can't see that or we can't understand that. But in life, you got to learn how to understand these things. You got to learn that I will have my sword, and I hope I never have to use it.
Never have to use it.
I never want to use my sword, right? But if the time comes, I'm able to use it. That's why we practice and we structure our minds to be ready in case things like that happen.
That's right.
We don't want those things to happen,
That's
right? Like the situation that happened with Sabbath before last, it was volatile. But at the end of the day, the guy apologized. We had a conversation. It was cool. There was nobody but the Most High. And I said it before, that it was the Most High. It wasn't the fact that I had a sword. It wasn't the fact that my people had swords. It was the fact that the Most High intervened because he was looking after his righteous people that was trying to keep his commandments. You know, that's what that was, right? Does it mean we didn't need swords? No, it don't mean that.
Don't mean that.
It doesn't mean that at all. But go ahead, read on.
For he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God.
He's a what?
The minister of God.
Read.
A revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil.
It says a revenger to execute wrath upon them that do what?
That doeth
so
evil.
So when people are doing evil, God is going to use people to execute vengeance upon people. That's just how it works. It's always worked that way, right? I just hope I'm not on the receiving end, but he's saying a revenger. So a revenger is those who give consequence or give judgment for people who are doing evil. A lot of people, no, I'm just going to leave it in the hands of the Lord. Sometimes if it's left in the hands of the Lord, a man may deal with you in a way that you don't want him to.
That's right.
And that's the part that people think that everything is spiritual. It's not. A lot of times spiritual things get carried out in the flesh. And that's what we can't accept. And if you're a baby and you're just learning certain things, you don't realize that spiritual things get carried out in the flesh.
Often.
Say that.
Often.
Say that.
Often.
Go ahead.
Verse 5. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake.
Wait a minute. Not only for wrath, but also for what?
Conscience sake.
Break that down, brother.
Conscience. That's strict, simple and plain. That's your mind. Simple and plain. Yeah, that's your moral self.
Yes.
When you have that that's something you know you did something. You remember when I ain't gonna say we've all done it, but I know I have. When I was a child, went to the store, stole a little butter scotch candy.
Guilty.
And guess what? I didn't even get caught. But before I could even eat the candy, my conscience was on my head telling me how wrong I was. Yes. And I felt bad for it.
That's right.
For your moral conscience, for your moral mind sake. That's what that's going into. It's going to, Like, can you imagine how you would feel if you was in a situation and you left that thing at home,
right,
and then you needed it,
right?
and you be like, damn. See, then what happened? Then we all have that conversation. See, if I would have had mine. Come on, man.
You know, one of the brothers was talking about how he would have done, and he got hands, and I said, brother, this is not a situation
You got hands
of putting your hands on people. This situation is more volatile than that,
yeah.
Right? And it is spiritual, but a lot of people can't see the physical for the spiritual. You're thinking it's, if I say to you spiritual, your mind goes, okay, only spiritual, nothing else. I'm only looking for spirit, nothing else. No, if I say this is spiritual, certain things manifest themselves, and you'll see the spiritual side of something that physically happened. You'll see the spiritual side of two men getting along after almost shooting each other, fighting each other, and you'll see the spiritual side of them just coming to an understanding after something physical happened. Mm-hmm. That's spiritual. That's not physical. It's something physical happened, but that's not just spiritual. So if your mind cannot see that, that's kind of where you kind of fall off it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Let's keep going. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 6.
Yeah.
For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers.
They are what?
God's ministers.
We are God's ministers that are going to do physical things that are going to manifest themselves in a spiritual way. Read.
Attending continually upon this very thing.
So we're going to keep doing this very thing continually. It's something it's physical, but it's going to manifest spiritually. I can't say that enough.
It's continually. That's the key word right there.
Exactly. Continually. Read on.
Verse 7. Render therefore to do all their due.
Wait a minute. Read that again.
Render therefore to do all their dues.
Everything we have to pay attention to, not just spiritual, but physical. And we have to make sure that we're equipped to make sure we take care of all these situations, all their dues. Read on.
Tribute to whom tribute is due.
Wait a minute. Tribute to what?
Tribute to whom tribute is due.
Those that are trying to rule or just trying to be in leadership, that are trying to do a good job, that really are humble, that real admit, like, brother, I could have done something better. Those who are really trying, if you see somebody really working for you in your behalf, people that's really trying to look out for you, you got to give tribute to where it's due. Don't give tribute to a person that's puffed up and just want what they want. But if a person is humble and they're trying to do what's right, that's the way that you don't give a person tribute to puff them up. You give a person tribute to keep them going.
There you go.
If somebody tell me something good about myself, it gives me energy to keep going. It don't make me feel puffed up. It helps me. Okay, I got to keep doing this. I can't let this oct down. He just exhorted me. He just gave me a compliment. So I'm gonna make sure, because this man took time out of his day to say, you know what, Shi'yah, you're doing a good job. You need to keep it. I'm gonna make sure that I don't let him down.
It inspires you. And if you look at the word inspire, it's two words. In spirit is the spire part.
Wow.
It's saying you're putting a positive spirit inspire. So, hey, brother, you're doing a great job. I'm reinforcing that positive spirit inside of him. That's inspiring him. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's rendering the due.
Inspire.
Hey, when you have, for all you athletes out there, when you have that coach and you bust your, you know what, for that coach, you give it all, and they don't acknowledge you, at some point you start being like, man,
why do it? I don't get no.
Then you start playing for you. You're not playing for him.
Right.
You're not playing for the team. Now you start playing for you.
Right.
And when you playing for yourself, guess what? That's selfish. That's pride.
Yep.
That's, and now you're going away from what you need to be staying
going against the grain.
Boom.
Yeah. Read the rest of that.
For they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor.
That's plain. You can't really get any plainer than that. It's teaching you how to deal with your brother, and it's teaching you how to respect the hierarchy in a congregation setting, in any type of organization that you enter. There is a code of honor, or there is a hierarchy of honor, right? But when you make yourself equal to those that are trying to help you, it makes it very volatile. It causes anarchy, right? And so we don't want anarchy. We want to have, we just want to have cool, we just want to have peace, right? But sometimes some people can't understand it, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's cool. Go to John 13:13.
Sometimes, no, I'm going where you're going. Sometimes it's not for them to get at that moment.
That makes sense.
You know, sometimes it's a lesson that needs to be learned.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's not for us to say when someone's supposed to get it or when they're supposed to learn it. The Most High and Christ are there are, like the scriptures say, the schoolmasters.
That's right.
Right. So when they give the lesson, whether I get it today and he get it, maybe he got it last year, right, but I got it today. That's not up for us to discern or praise.
That's right.
Because all glory and praise goes to the Most High, and we gotta take those lessons from him.
That's right.
You said John 13 and
13.
This is the book of John, chapter 13, verse 13.
Read.
Ye call me master and Lord, and ye say, well, for so I am.
He said, this is Christ talking. He said, you calling me master and Lord. Who is your master? Your master is your head. It's a title that means your leader, right? Your Lord, like your Lord, he is your teacher, right? Watch this. Read on.
For I then, your Lord and master, have washed your feet. You also to wash one another's feet.
So if Christ is, he said, if I wash your feet, so I'm taking all the dirty situations away from you. I'm helping you with every bad situation that you go into. And if I'm helping you with that, you're going to do that for other people. I'm paraphrasing that, but that's the similitude for that. If I'm going to wash your feet, you're going to also do that for other people. He was our master, our teacher, our leader, right? And he washed people's feet. So that's something that we do too, that we should do too. And that's a similitude for helping each other through their problems, right? Watch this. Read on.
Verse 15. For I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done to you.
Read on.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. Neither
what?
The servant is not greater than his Lord.
You're a servant. You're not greater than your Lord. If Christ had to humble himself and wash people's feet, you're going to have to humble yourself. I'm going to have to humble myself. We all have to humble ourselves and wash feet or do the dirty work, right? Read on.
Neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him.
Wow, that's powerful. Neither he that is sent greater than he that has sent him. So we're not greater. We can't put ourselves above what Christ did, and we can't go a step over that. We got to make sure we keep ourselves humble. That's part of this walk. A lot of times I have learned just on a personal level, just to keep myself humble. When somebody says I did something, I don't instantly say I didn't do that, but I think about the situation, I look at it, and sometimes people do want to be false accusers or accuse you of certain things. So I consider everything, but I make sure I use wisdom. And there's a difference. I want you guys to understand this. There's a difference in people that have knowledge and people that have wisdom. A lot of people that know precepts don't have, they have knowledge, but they don't have wisdom. Wisdom is something that you develop over the course of time. When I was going through my stuff in my first congregation, second congregation, I was learning precepts, and I learned the precepts pretty fast, but I had not developed wisdom yet. And it took a while for me to develop the wisdom that I needed to make my situation better. It didn't come like that. It took a while to develop wisdom. Even though you have precepts and you know this Bible, and we wake up and we get in these scriptures, it takes a while to develop the wisdom that's necessary to bring us forth in a righteous manner, right? Go ahead and read that last verse.
Verse 17, if ye know these things, happy are ye if you do them.
Happy are ye if you what?
Happy are ye if ye do them.
He's talking about the washing of the feet. The verse above that, it says, verily I say unto you, the servant is not greater than the Lord. Neither is he that sent is greater than he that sent him. He said, happy are ye if you do these things. If you listen to these things, if you take time and chew on it, that's going to help you develop your wisdom. If you take time and say, you know what? I know I don't know everything. I know precepts, but I know I don't know everything. If you humble yourself, you're going to learn more. You're going to get more. And a lot of times, like he said, we don't get to choose when the young brothers or sisters want to do what they want to do. We don't get to choose how a person learned the lesson. We don't get to choose that, you know. But like you said, the Father is going to let all these things be known. Mm-hmm. And if it be wrong, if things start crashing down on you, if things start happening, you're gonna know that you wasn't doing what you wasn't following the path that was set before you, right? If nothing happened, cool. Keep on pushing, right? Go to John chapter 10 and verse 1. Matter of fact, go to 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 2. I want to go there first. That's a great precept. 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 2. Watch this.
The book of 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 2. Preach the word.
Do what?
Preach the word.
Read.
Be instant, in season, out of season.
Read.
Reprove, rebuke, exhort with long suffering.
With what?
With long suffering and doctrine.
So we're commanded to reprove. We're supposed to have long suffering. We're supposed to use this doctrine to help our brothers and sisters. We're supposed to use this doctrine as it is. Sometimes reproof and rebuke don't feel well. Sometimes when you're reproved and you're rebuked and having long suffering, that's a quality that's developed over time. Everybody don't just have long suffering off the muscle. It takes a long time to develop long suffering, right? Because we lack a lot of long suffering. That's where a lot of people go off, because they don't have long suffering. Read on.
Verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine.
They will not what?
They will not endure sound doctrine.
A lot of our young people won't endure sound doctrine because of the way of the times. The times are waxing worse and worse. But read.
But after their own lust.
After their what?
After their own lust.
I gotta teach. I want to go do what I want to do. You can't tell me I can't do it. The Lord told me I could do this. Read.
Shall they heap to themselves teachers?
Heap to themselves what?
Teachers.
I'm gonna go to the teachers that's gonna tell me what I want to hear, so I can go do what I want to do. Read.
Having itching ears.
Having what?
Having itching ears.
A lot of times we have itching ears and don't know we have itching ears. A lot of times that's something a lot of times when you're caught up in something, you only see it in hindsight. Like I say, hindsight is 20/20, and we don't know when we're in the midst of certain things. We don't see it at the time. It just takes time for people to get these things, right? Read on.
Verse 4. For they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables.
Turned unto what?
Unto fables.
Sometimes those fables are not just stories that you hear from long ago. They're stories that you want to tell yourself. They're things that you want to make happen yourself. Fable is something that is just a story that's not true, but you can make a situation into whatever you want it to be. Like they say, perception is reality. If you perceive something to be a certain way and you just got it in your heart that that's what it is, it's kind of hard to get that out of you. If you perceive something to be something, and it's probably, even if it may not be that, it's just hard for you not to see it that way, right? Read on.
But watch thou in all things.
In what?
In all things.
Read.
Endure afflictions.
Endure what?
Endure afflictions.
We got to endure these things. Read.
Do the work. Do the work of an evangelist. Make full proof of thy ministry.
A lot of times when it says do the work of an evangelist, everybody think that we all got to be evangelists. We all got to go out and teach. That's not what that's going into. Doing the work of an evangelist, you witnessing in a lot of ways. Sometimes you witnessing in the way that you behave, in the way that you deal with certain things. Sometimes it's not easy to do the work of an evangelist. Because you have to know when to turn on. My brother had told his young brother today, sometimes you got to know what to bring to the party, depending on what's going on.
Man,
you got to know which one to bring.
Man,
and if you don't have wisdom, you're not gonna know which one to bring. A brother told me I was in sin because I had to deal with a young brother on the streets. Right, I had to deal with him in the way that he came. Right, but see, when it says do the work of an evangelist, sometimes, like matter of fact. Go to Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 8. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Because we think it's all gentle. No, that's not how it goes.
3 and 8.
Ezekiel 3 and 8.
The book of Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 8.
Read.
Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces.
Sometimes you got to make your face strong against the people's face that's there. Read.
And thy forehead strong against their forehead.
Now, what would it mean if I have to make my forehead strong against your forehead? What would that mean?
I mean, we at odds.
We're at odds, yes. Right?
Yes.
But watch this. He's going to tell you how hard to be. Mm-hmm. This is Ezekiel telling us Exactly. He's telling us how much to put on it. Read.
As an adamant, harder than flint.
Wait a minute. Sometimes if you take a flintstone and hit your head with it, will it hurt?
It's gonna crack your skull.
It's gonna crack your skull. So he's telling you how hard to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're judging a situation, you don't know how hard you needed to be for the situation if you hadn't used wisdom. But read on.
As an adamant, harder than flint, have I made thy forehead.
Thy what?
Thy forehead.
Read.
Fear them not.
Do what?
Fear them not.
Sometimes you have to get in a situation. These situations are going to come up. He prepared us. Ezekiel, through the Spirit of the Lord, was telling us, look, you don't fear them. Sometimes these cats are going to be like this. This is how you have to be. We're doing the work of an evangelist, but it doesn't always require giving scripture. Now, that takes wisdom to bring out. And I can't help but to bring up a situation that happened years and years ago, where I thought that the guy over me handled it not good. So we did the Matthew 15, 18, 15, or 13, 15, 18, or something like that. 18, and so he really it was hard for him to take the reproof, but we had him on tape and we were looking at the situation. I said, brother, because he said, surround these niggas. And it was just this big thing, right? And it was volatile. But I did learn something from the situation. I did learn that, and he was wrong, because the brothers that was around, they were saying that he was wrong for how he reacted, but I still had to learn my place, my order, how I was supposed to come to him.
Okay.
I feel like he was wrong. Even to this day, other people feel like he was wrong, but I could have done a little bit better. And I don't think I was rowdy. I wasn't rowdy, but I always look at the situation on how I could have acted, how I could have done better. Even in the situation that I got into with the young man 2 weeks ago, I always look at how I could have done better. I always look at, brother, if I could have done better, doesn't mean I did something wrong, but I always want to
still just did it better.
I could have just done it better.
Yes.
I could have done it better.
Yes.
And that's where we always want to be. We always want to have that spirit of humility in us, right? He called my shop, and my brothers got upset with me because we were actually teaching the Bible on Sundays. And he said, well, I don't, they need to come to the school to get learning. So you need to shut that down. And at the time, I didn't know enough. I ain't gonna say I didn't know enough. At the time, I was still getting what I needed from him. So I said, you know what? Shut it out. I'll shut it out. Mm-hmm. I humbled myself and I shut it out. Mm-hmm. You know, and the brothers were upset with me for that. But I did it because I was still in a phase of learning. Mm-hmm. I was still trying to get some understanding. So I didn't want to buck the system, and then boom, I didn't cut off, because it wasn't just him teaching. Right. It was other brothers teaching. It was like 5 other brothers teaching. So if I would have been prideful, I would have cut off myself from learning, and I knew I had a mission. Mm-hmm. I had a mission so I could get where I am today.
Yes, sir.
And if I would have had pride, and I believe the Most High was testing me, not that he was right for telling me to stop on Sunday, because there's nothing wrong for us to be at my barbershop reading the triple, but I had adhered to what the elder said, whether I agreed with it or didn't agree with it, because I was part of his organization. I had to adhere to what he said, and I just did that.
Powers that be are ordained of the Most High. Okay, I hear you. I'm gonna roll with what you're saying.
I don't like it, but I just rolled with it. But that humbleness helped me. I learned a lot of stuff.
Yes, sir.
I learned a lot of stuff. You know, and a lot of times the Most High will test you when you're doing good and things are going good in your life. He will test you. He'll throw an obstacle out there and see how you're gonna respond, and see if you got that pride on you. Mm-hmm. He want to see how much pride you got.
How you gonna deal with it? Are you gonna deal with it with pride? Are you gonna deal with it with humility? Are you gonna run and go get the homies, or are you gonna call out to him? How you gonna deal with this?
How you gonna do it?
Yes, sir.
And that's I'm just giving y'all that story because that's what I learned, and that's what I got. I could tell you all day all the stuff he did wrong, but I'm telling you what I learned from me in the situation, right? Because every situation is for you to learn something that you did or that you could have done better, right? But go ahead.
Where we at? As an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks. So though they be a rebellious house.
So we got rebellious people all over. We don't fear them, but we don't be dismayed at them. We always make sure we do the right thing. Go to Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12.
Let me get something.
I got you.
Go to Joshua chapter 1. You know me and Joshua kind of close, man. I roll
love
with that
Joshua.
dude. I roll with that dude, man.
Hey, Joshua, that dude.
He really is.
Joshua, that dude for real.
He really is. So just 1-7.
Joshua 1-7.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of Joshua, chapter 1 and verse 7. Watch this. It says, "Only be thou strong and very courageous."
So we can't play the games. When we out there, we can being humble has nothing to do with being fearful.
Right.
Let's make sure that's clear.
Right.
Being humble has nothing to do with being fearful. Me and my brother was out and we was hanging out and we was just talking. And I was like, if we got into it with these dudes right here, before we get into it, I'm gonna try to de-escalate the situation. It ain't because I'm afraid.
Right.
You know what?
Right.
Let's go and get out of here because it ain't because I'm afraid.
Right.
Now, once it go there,
if you don't let us leave,
then it is what it is. Right. So this is why he says, be strong and very courageous. You see what I'm saying? Very courageous. Not just courageous, but very
courageous. That thou mayest observe to do according to all the law.
So we got to always be in it. Always be in it. And we got to be strong and courageous with it.
That's right.
Listen, brothers out when brothers are out there street teaching, it takes courage.
Yep.
But we got to have a certain humility, but we also got to be, the scriptures say, be sober, right?
That's right.
So we also got to be alert about what's going on and what the situation is.
That's right.
And I'm just going to use, I know this is not the same situation, but if you come across a brother and he eating pork, guess what? You might be strong in the scriptures. You might be courageous about giving it to him. Yep. But if you giving him Numbers 15:38 and that ain't what he out here eating a ham sandwich, you're not paying attention. You're not having a sober mind.
Exactly.
Right?
You give him Leviticus 11:7, and you supposed to be giving him. You giving him.
You giving him fringes. You're supposed to be giving him dietary law.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, read on.
It says, "Which Moses, my servant, commanded thee.
Read.
Turn not from it to the right hand nor to the left, that thou mayest prosper through whithersoever thou goest."
That's all I wanted. We gotta be strong and courageous.
That is a good piece.
We gotta be on, like when people say, "Oh, he's very well-rounded." Nah, we gotta be well-rounded. And when we saying well-rounded, yeah, we gotta know the scriptures, but we gotta know how to circumspect the situations.
Be circumspect. I love that word.
We have to be able to do that, because in some situations, you may be able to talk that situation down.
Yep.
In some situations, listen, sometimes it just ain't no talking to people.
That's right.
And you may have to be like, all right, now.
Yeah. We got to get it in. We got to get in.
All right. Now.
And some people you have, and my friend, I love what he said. Richard said, some men are jokers. They just want to see the world.
Man, that was
wonderful. That was an excellent way to put it, because we do have jokers, and then you don't know when you're going to run into a joker. You can't negotiate with a joker. You can't give no money. There's nothing you can say to a joker.
Yeah.
They're just gonna, and it's crazy because I've been running into those people, different people like that in different parts of my life as I walked up, and I didn't know what to call them.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't know what to label them as.
I didn't know what to label them as, because people label them troublemakers.
Yes, sir.
They'll say, because when you don't know a person, or when you don't know how to describe a person, he's just troublemaker. He just trouble. Those are jokers.
That's a joker. Yeah.
Those are jokers.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we'll read scriptures and it'll soften us up and make us think that because it says this, or because Paul's saying this is all he means, or this is all you should do. I'll give you an example. When you go to Ephesians chapter 4, and verse 1, I want my brother to read this, because he's telling us how to be, as far as how to be with the attitude. But a lot of people read Ephesians chapter 4 and they'll think this is all we have to be. You understand that? Yes. Like, this is all we are.
That's it.
That's what we are. No.
Hey, close the Bible after they read.
Just close the Bible. Yeah. Let the church say amen. 4:1, Ephesians.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 1.
Bring it out.
I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called.
So you got to walk worthy. So he's telling people to walk worthy. Now watch what he says. Watch this.
With all lowliness.
With what?
With all lowliness.
Read.
And meekness.
Read.
With long suffering, forbearing one another in love.
So he's saying with all lowliness, with all meekness, forbearing one another in love. And so they'll say, you know what? Close the book. That's all. We got to be all lowly. Mm-hmm. We got to be all meek, right? Didn't Paul get bucked with some cats?
Hey.
Didn't Paul get bucked?
Man, yeah.
And not saying that he lied, he didn't lie, but he dealt with the situation. You have to have wisdom to understand what he's saying right here. He's not saying just only be meek. If you run into some jokers, because remember some of those brothers at those churches, he said that the dudes at Ephesus were bewitched, right?
Yeah.
He said that they were crazy, and he got with them. So if you don't have wisdom to discern the scriptures and you read this, you'll think that's all he meant. He just meant be lowly with all lowliness, all meekness. But watch this. Keep reading.
Verse 3, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
So when he says endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit, this is how you behave with your brothers. If you have a brotherhood and you're having a personal conversation with them, we are supposed to use lowliness and meekness and try to, let, even if you disagree, like
that's what I was gonna say. Now, I like that he said conversation, but let's be more specific and pinpoint it. If you have a disagreement with your brother, you should deal with it with a lowliness. And listen, this ain't about punking out.
Right.
It's about you trying to. One thing I see in Israel, especially those of us who don't know no better, but I see it with those of us who wear the fringes, right?
Yeah.
We'll have the disagreement. And instead of us trying to solve the problem or try to come to some understanding, what we'll do is we want to stand on I am right and you are wrong.
Wow.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because you never solve the problem.
It don't get
you
solved.
Never come to the understanding.
Right.
You listen, we never bridge the gap.
Right.
It's still there. And you know what that leaves? That leaves some sort of animosity there.
Yeah, it's bitter. You got a bad taste in your mouth afterwards.
Man.
It's a bad taste. No, my brother, he hit it right on the head. And that's the part where we have to understand. This is in the course of conversation with your brother, right? Read the next verse.
There is one body and one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling.
So when we're talking, we got to remember when we're talking, and like you said, when we're having a disagreement, remember that there's one body and one spirit. And even like the last part says, and ye are called in the one hope of your calling. So if I'm going through something with my brother and we're having a disagreement, but I'm remembering at the end of the day, we one body, we one spirit, right? This is the hope of our calling. So if I'm remembering that we're one, even if we disagree, we still brothers afterwards. It shouldn't even make us part. We just disagree on something. Guess what? We may disagree on something later on, but it shouldn't make us break up. It shouldn't make us not want to be friends no more.
Hey, it should not. And this go out to all y'all camps and congregations. Yes. It should not make you feel like, well, they not in the truth or we don't deal with it. No, you in error for that.
Because we disagree. It don't mean that you in error for that. No.
The scribes and Pharisees didn't agree on everything.
Right.
And yet, what Christ say, what they tell you to do it.
We're gonna pull that. You in the spirit.
Listen, man, we that's you still dealing with your old you dealing with the old man when you operate like that.
Right.
And we supposed to be being the new.
Right. And I'm glad you said that. Now watch this. The Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. That's a big one. Listen, the Sadducees did not believe at all in the resurrection. And they still were getting along as a unit. They still all knew that they was Jews. They all knew that they had to keep the law. They all had a lot of attributes, but the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection at all. Right. And
what we don't understand is there were more than just the Sadducees and Pharisees. Yep. If y'all ever want to, man, y'all Google the Zealots.
Yes.
Zealots. Y'all Google the Essenes.
Yes.
And the common thread was what? We the Hebrew, we Israelites.
Yep.
The common thread was what? We need to keep these laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments.
Yep.
Like it was common threads all throughout. Now they may have had disagreements here or there, but they never was like, nah, you don't know and you ain't in. Nah, come on, man. That was just ridiculous.
Yep. And to his point, it was 7 churches. 7 churches. To 7, and they did not agree on everything.
They agreed on everything.
And it was some that had to be sharply rebuked, right? And they had to be, and they went off. Because remember, the Nicolaitans went all the way off. They went all the way off. They wasn't trying to hear anything. And they had to be rebuked sharply. So we have that discourse that we're talking about has been since forever. It's been since back then, okay? So we have to have that understanding. This is not nothing new. But I want to get that scripture that you just pulled, man. Go to Matthew chapter 23 and verse 1. You in the spirit, because that's exactly what we need. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't follow you. I follow Christ. I don't follow you. I follow Christ. Well, what did Christ say how we are to deal with the scribes and Pharisees? He taught us how to deal with them. So if you say you follow Christ, well, you need to follow what he's saying. And he told the people to what? To listen to what the scribes and Pharisees had to say, right? He said everything. Let's read it. Let's just read it.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 1.
Read.
Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples.
And to who?
And to his disciples.
So he's telling the multitude of people walking around, and he's also telling his own disciples, right? Watch this.
Saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you.
Wait a minute. All therefore whatsoever what?
All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe.
Whatever they tell you, observe, read.
That observe and do.
He told them. So when you say I follow Christ, I don't follow them. Christ told you to listen to what they were saying, the scribes and Pharisees. They were given law. They were given law, and there's guidelines in these laws. There are guidelines on how to deal with a scribe and a Pharisee. There's guidelines. They had to follow all those rules, right? Read on.
But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
So a person that's a scribe, you listen to them giving you law, but if that person is going off and they're not doing what's righteous, he said, don't do what he do. So sometimes, and it's a line there. If you see me doing something going off, don't do that. But if I'm giving you the right advice concerning law, if I'm able to open the Bible up and tell you where you're going off, he said, listen to that.
If the instruction is right, man, listen. Y'all ever been somewhere and see the wino at the liquor store and he running his mouth? You like, man, that fool drunk, he crazy. Yeah. But then he say something, you like, bing, you like, damn, that was big facts.
Yep.
Just because the wino don't mean that he can't say something that's right.
Right.
Can't give you correct and can't tell you what's correct.
Exactly.
Just because he the wino and you trying to be like, hey, where's King and Western at? And that's LA streets for all y'all who don't know. Where's King and Western? And this part he may not know. He from Texas. He don't know. But the wino like, oh, you're going to take 2 blocks down and make a left. You're going to run right into it. You ain't going to listen to him because he the wino?
Right.
Okay, well, listen to the Texas dude
exactly.
and see how far it gets.
Listen, and I'm not from there.
I'm just saying. We just saying, man.
That's a great analogy, though. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For they bind heavy burden and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
So right here, he described exactly for what was going on. He said that they're putting heavy burdens and they're making them do a lot of stuff that is uncomfortable. Just a lot of hard stuff that's uncomfortable, right? But they're not doing those things, right? So he actually told you to listen to him, but he actually described exactly what was going on in that situation. He said they telling people to do stuff that they don't even want to do.
They're not doing themselves.
They won't even do it, right? But like he said, the information is sound, but they're not.
They're not practicing,
right? They're not practicing or executing it like they're supposed to, right? That's all I want on that. You got anything?
Nope.
Go to Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 13. We're gonna get some more. And a lot of times, y'all have to understand this is where we're supposed to be. This is how we're supposed to correct one another. Even though I'm telling you about this that happened, I'm telling you about that happened, I'm telling you about some personal things in my life that went on, some recent personal things that went on. It's not in malice. It's not saying these are things that happen, and the things that happen, I want to teach on it, but not just teach on it. I want to teach on it in a way that people can learn or get an understanding so that they don't go through. If I was here teaching in malice, I think you guys could see the difference. Matter of fact, if I was here teaching, my brother would be like, hey, bro, hey, listen, don't do that. Don't do that one. Because he would see that, but if it's of love or if it's something that I'm really trying, people can read spirit. That's wisdom. My brother has the wisdom to know if the teaching is in malice or if it's in really trying to edify. We both have been in the truth long enough to have that discernment on what the intention is behind the teaching, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Right? And that's what we want to do. We want to always exhort, right? And I'm glad situations happen to me. I wish that I could go through all of it. What did Paul say? I wish I could go through all this stuff.
All this, yeah.
So y'all wouldn't have to feel nothing.
Yeah.
I wish all the stuff could happen to where I could tell y'all and then y'all listen to me and then y'all wouldn't have to go through none of this stuff. But unfortunately, y'all are going to have to bump y'all heads too. But go ahead and read that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 13. Whoso despises the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded.
So when you despise the word, you will be destroyed. That's why Christ told the people to do to everything that they bid you to do that, because he doesn't want you to despise the word. Never despise the commandment, because you get life in the commandments. And he understood that. Now read the next verse. Watch this.
Verse 14. The law of the wise is a fountain of life.
Wait a minute. The law of the wise is what?
Is a fountain of life.
If you wise and you listen to the law, it's a fountain of life to you. Read.
To depart from the snares of death.
To depart from what?
From the snares of death.
There's a lot of traps out here, y'all. There's a lot of things that could trap you. And a trap is what they call a trap, because once you fall into a trap, you don't know you were going into a trap until you fall into it.
Until you can't get out of it.
Right. It wouldn't be a trap if you knew you were going into a trap, y'all. If you, I see that trap right there. No, it's something you cannot see that happens to you that you could have avoided by listening to sound doctrine, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We're elders here. Listen, this man is an elder. I'm an elder, not because we're old, but because we've been doing this for X amount of time. And he's had more time of it doing it than me. So there are certain things that I'll humble down and listen to him before anyone else, because I know he has my best interest at hand, right? Watch this. Read the next verse.
Verse 15. Good understanding giveth favor.
Once you have a good understanding, you do get favor, but you have to have that good understanding first. That does not come overnight. It's developed over time. That's called wisdom.
Most definitely. This
understanding he's talking about is called wisdom.
Most definitely.
Read on.
But the way of transgressors is hard.
So when you don't listen, you're going to have a hard, it's going to be a snare after snare after snare. It's going to be, all these things are going to keep happening when you don't want to. It says the way of transgressors is what?
But the way of transgressors is hard.
You're going to have a hard time by not listening. It's going to be hard for you. Read the next verse.
Verse 16. Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge.
If you're prudent, you're going to deal with knowledge. Read.
But a fool layeth But a fool layeth open his folly.
So a fool, you can see all the stupid things that he does. But if you're prudent, meaning a man who is give me what's the definition of prudent? When you're a prudent man, so they can understand what prudence is. We don't want to skip over anything. We want to make sure that you guys understand what prudence is, or what being prudent is. Okay. We want to make sure you guys get that understanding.
Prudent. Acting with or showing care and thought for the future. Wise or well judged.
Wow. Acting or showing thought or well care for the future. So you're thinking about your walk. You're thinking about the things of the future. Matter of fact, when I humbled myself down to the guy who didn't want me to teach, to have Bible study at my barbershop, I was being prudent. I was being prudent. I didn't even know that I was being prudent. But I was being prudent at the time because I was showing care for what? Towards my what? My future. You see that? I didn't agree with what was going on, but I knew that my future was going to be better. I knew that me just chilling out and not making a wave was going to be better for me. I didn't agree with anything that he said at the time because I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm just teaching the Bible. We're actually not teaching. We're reading the Bible and getting reasoning with each other through the scriptures at the barbershop. And he stepped in. And like, think about how big a blow that was for me. He ain't never paid rent at my barbershop.
Right.
He ain't. I was 40-something years old at the time, like 43 or something. We wasn't breaking no laws. Wasn't not one law that was being broken. It wasn't malicious. I wasn't trying to start a camp or none of that. And he said, no, you got to shut that down at your shop. Y'all can't be reading the Bible at your barbershop. But I was prudent, even though I could have came with all those reasons and beat my chest about, nigga, I pay the rent here.
Yeah.
I could have beat my chest and done that.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that because I humbled myself down and it helped me. I learned so much. I learned so much when I did that. The Most High blessed me. I believe he put that test on me. And I believe that's a test that I actually did pass, y'all.
Can I get something?
Yeah, man.
So my brother read Proverbs 13:13. He said, Whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that fear the commandment shall be rewarded. That's really deep, because when we despise the Most High's word, no matter how we see that, you know what? Let's just get the scripture. Proverbs 28:9.
Proverbs 28:9?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's
and this is going to just give it to you.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law.
So when you don't want to hear the word of the Most High, you don't want to hear how he instructing you. You don't want to hear what he says is right and wrong. You don't want to hear his way, right? Go ahead.
Even his prayer shall be abomination.
So even when you on your knees praying and sweating hard, that's an abomination, because you don't want to hear how he told you to do this to begin with.
Right.
So when the Most High is giving those instructions, Proverbs is just good old plain wisdom.
That's it.
Just good.
Just good old wisdom.
Good old wisdom.
Good wisdom.
You don't want to hear that? Guess what? Your prayer going to end up being an abomination.
That's right.
You don't want to see them commandments? Your prayer going to end up being an abomination. When you have a seasoned vet, right, on your team, and they're saying, like, you know what? I don't know if we should do it like that. Or that is needed for us to do this way. We got to sit back and just, man, ride the bus, man. Just ride the bus. It's okay.
Right.
And if you see something going wrong, then I understand.
Right.
But if ain't nothing going wrong, ride the bus. Just chill out and just see how it unfolds first.
That's a great.
This is why the scriptures say what? We're supposed to take everything in and before we make our judgment, we're supposed to see the whole matter first. The
whole matter.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Man, that's a great, that was a great analogy. Go to Sirach. This is the last script. Go to Sirach chapter 13 and verse 1. That's a great analogy. Sometimes you just gotta ride the bus.
Just
man.
Ride the bus.
Just sit down and ride the bus, man. Sometimes we don't want to ride the bus.
We want to drive.
Let me drive.
Listen, think back on your bus ride days. You felt like I could have got there faster than him, right?
Let me drive, man.
Sometimes you just got to just chill, ride the bus, man. You said 13:1?
13:1.
Sirach chapter 13, verse 1. He that toucheth pitch shall be defiled therewith, and he that hath fellowship with a proud man shall be like unto him.
So it says, he that touches pitch shall be any bad matter that you run into. And if you're dealing with it in an unrighteous way, it's going to defile you. When you think you know what's best and you're going into a matter that you think you got it, that's what this is talking about. It's going to mess you up. And it says that, and he that has fellowship with a proud man shall be like unto him. So if I got a proud spirit on me, it's contagious.
Contagious, yes, it is.
It's gonna rub off, and it's gonna rub off on those that are closest to me. So we both gonna be proud, and we're not gonna be able to reprove each other, right? So you can't see if you're proud and you going into that spirit or taking on that spirit of a proud person, it's hard to see sometimes, right? Read on.
Verse 2. Burden not thyself above thy power while thou livest, and have no fellowship with one that is mightier and richer than thyself.
Watch this. It says, burden not thyself above thy power while thou livest. So if there's something that's too deep for you, there's something too much for you, you have to sometimes have the wisdom to know that this is too much for me. I might need to step back from it. I might need to chill on this situation. That's why he's telling you to not burden yourself. It says, burden not yourself. Burden not yourself above thy power.
Above thy power.
That's something that may be too high for your understanding. And then you think you got it and you really don't got it. Right? Read on.
And have no fellowship with one that is mightier and richer than thyself.
What is that saying? Somebody that is mightier and richer than you. Is that talking about an actually rich man that got more money than you? No. That's talking about somebody who is mightier, who has a stronger will than you, and they're going into folly. Don't follow that man. Don't follow what that person do. So there's going to be context clues to let you know if this person is right for you to hang around with, right? And if he's got a proud spirit on him, he's calling himself mighty and richer than you. You might not want to follow that. But go ahead.
For how agree the kettle and the earthen pot together? For if the one be smitten against the other, it shall be broken.
So how agree does a sinner, how much agreement does a sinner have with a person that's righteous? If you're righteous, you're not going to have agreement with one that's a sinner. That's what that's going into. If you're a broken vessel and you trying to be righteous, you guys should, oil and water don't mix. It just don't. But read on.
Verse 3. The rich man hath done wrong, and yet he threateneth withal. The poor is wronged, and he must entreat also.
It says the rich man has done wrong, and yet he threatened. He got more power. He's somebody that's roaring harder, right? But the poor man, it says the poor man is wrong, but he must entreat also, right? So even if you poor and don't have or not in that position, you still have to humble yourself. Watch this. Keep reading.
If thou be for his profit, he will use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee.
If a person that's a user comes into your way and you have something that benefits them, they're going to use you for it. They're going to use you. That we have and I think this is an appropriate precept because remember, we have a lot of users in the world. We got people that'll juice you up. I talked about a brother putting a key in my back about a situation of a fight. Remember I talked about that?
Yes, sir.
If they can benefit and use you to be entertainment, not only, it ain't all about getting money from somebody. Sometimes people using you and you don't even know they're using you. That brother was using me to see a good fight. He put that key in my back and winded me up and had me all puffed up. That's a way that brothers can use you too, you know, and they can use you because you may have the potential to be in a situation or to be in a higher degree than that person, and they may be secretly jealous of you, and they may use you or make you get into it with somebody to hold you back, and you don't see it or you can't see it right now, and they've accomplished their goal, and you never knew that person admired you like that. That person looked up to you in that way. You just thought that y'all was equals and y'all really wasn't because you had a bigger spirit or a bigger light on you. And so they just want to dim your light so you could be like them. Happens all the time.
All the time.
Very common thing. Nothing new under the sun, happens all the time. And a lot of times we don't see ourselves as anything special. That's why we don't ever see it coming. When I was a young man, I had a light on me. And I seen that I was good at certain things and popular and charismatic and could talk and all these things, right? I didn't look at myself as anything bigger than what I was, but there were other people watching me. There were other people paying attention to me. And they saw something bigger in me than what I saw in myself. And unfortunately, I let some of those people manipulate me and really mess me out of some good things or good relationships I could have had. Y'all understand that?
Big time.
So go ahead. That's all I got.
No, that was it. I don't got nothing. It was right and exact. Right and exact. Right?
That's all I got. And we went through these precepts, you guys, because we want to make sure you guys understand that we're always here to edify. We're always here to try to talk to you guys and help. If anybody need any help on anything, we here. But I got one last precept. I want you to go to Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 25. We're going to get that. We're going to get that. Proverbs 22 and 25. Oh, read 24 and 25.
Proverbs chapter 22, starting at verse 24.
Bring it out.
Make no friendship with an angry man.
Make no what?
Make no friendship with an angry man.
You shouldn't be friends with an angry man. Read.
And with a furious man, thou shalt not go.
When you're around somebody that's furious, don't go with that person that's furious. Don't confuse it with a person just defending themselves. That's something different. A lot of times when you don't have a heart to see these matters, you'll confuse it too. Don't confuse those two things. There's a difference between a furious man or a man that's triggered, right? Those are two different things. Don't misconstrue those things. Read on.
Verse 25. Lest thou learn his ways.
Lest thou what?
Lest thou learn his ways.
Read.
And get a snare to thy soul.
You'll get a snare to your soul if you're around somebody that just want to fight everybody. You right? But understand the difference between somebody who's triggered and who has to deal with a volatile situation and have to put that fire out or stamp it out or deal with a situation. Don't lack wisdom and judge a situation wrongfully. Right? That's all I have. And the Most High, I don't know why I pulled that scripture out like that.
Hey.
But the Most High said, do it.
Do that.
So I just thought I'd do it.
Be kind.
With that, we bid you guys a shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.